5 minutes to the ranking member of the committee, Mr. Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate your opening remarks, which encompass much of what we need to do, and are also in my opening remarks. This is our third hearing on the FAA reauthorization. Appreciate the subcommittee's attention and prioritization of the passenger experience. As Mr. Graves mentioned, the 2018 FAA reauthorization included more than 40 provisions to improve the airline passenger experience. We established a consumer complaints hotline, created airline passengers with disabilities bill of rights, and required review of airline cancellations, delays, and involuntary changes to passenger itineraries. We also included my bill that I've been working on for a long time, the SEAT Act, which requires the FAA to reestablish or to establish minimum dimensions for passenger seats on airplanes for safety. And the FAA never got around to doing it. They did get around to doing it, but after about 2 years, they never got, they didn't have a proper study or sample. So it's very disappointing as a person whose life has been spent in government and thinking government is can make a difference and a good difference in people's lives, and particularly consumers, to see the FAA just neglect to do what they're instructed to do by law, and that was to carry out this study. And it should have been a study with a relative sample that was reflective of the flying public, which it wasn't. There were no young kids, there were no people over 65, there were no people with disabilities, nobody with a dog, nobody with a bad day, anything. This is terrible. But we need to see to it the FAA follows what they're supposed to be doing and follow up on that. We'll continue to see that, I'm afraid we'll continue to see airline seats shrink. Not everybody's like JetBlue and increases the size of their seats, and they do a good job with that, I believe. While the 2018 law made incremental progress, it will be made resoundingly clear today there's much more work to be done to enhance the passenger experience, particularly those with disabilities. The increase, Mr. Graves said, was like 300% in complaints for people with disabilities. And we can't forget Mr. Langevin, who was a star on this issue and brought it to our attention on more occasions than not. People with disabilities fly, and they should have the same rights as anybody else and be treated properly. Some of the problems are maybe staffing, and there's problems with the air traffic controllers with staffing, I think. There are problems with the airlines with staffing, because a lot of people during the pandemic decided, I'm sick of this job. I'm tired of it, and I'm going to have a better life. And they just quit their jobs. So we've got some people like Mr. Collins has got a good bill, I think. I hadn't studied it in detail, but on first blush it looked good, and first blush was good enough for me to co-sponsor it. And it'll give people more opportunity to use monies that have been put away in accounts to further their educational opportunities, but allow them to go into trades like the airline industry. And that'll help us if we get these people trained and an opportunity to go to work in these industries, which is most important. So thank you, Mr. Collins. That's a good bill. I also work with Tammy Duckworth, chair of the Senate Aviation Subcommittee, of multiple bills to prioritize accountability and accessibility for aviation consumers and empower passengers to use mobility aids such as manual or powered wheelchairs. With a rebound in demand, we're seeing increased cancellations and delays by airlines. I was on a flight to Phoenix on Thursday. We sat on the tarmac in Memphis for about 20 minutes, and the pilot told us he was doing paperwork. And then after he get started up, he said, well, we've completed our maintenance work. I don't know what was going on, but it didn't make much sense. We had the highest cancellation rate in the decade in 2022, and the on-time arrival rate decreased by 77%. Consumers whose flights are canceled or significantly delayed should not be forced to jump through hoops to claim their rightful cash refund. And that's why I'm working with Senators Markey and Blumenthal on cash refunds for flight cancellations act to restore fairness and accountability to America's air travel experience. We're also being outpaced by increasing infrastructure needs at our airports. We've made progress, but we need to help our airports have the monies they need to have the type of airports we deserve in the 21st century. We had first 2 years program that we passed with the bipartisan infrastructure law, the airport terminal program. It's awarded almost $2 billion to airports across the country. That bipartisan bill was so important to many airports, and Memphis got $14 million, which is much appreciated and much needed. There's more work to be done, and we hope to be able to continue to meet infrastructure and passenger expectations and needs. And with that, I look forward to hearing from our esteemed witnesses and welcome the opportunity to work with these people. And Ms. Pinkerton, I really welcome seeing you. I've known the Pinkerton chased Jesse and Frank James for years and years, and I've never had a Pinkerton before me. So on behalf of Jesse and Frank, welcome.
Now recognize the ranking member of the full committee, Mr. Larson, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair.